All right, now also let's talk here again about that data, right? Which is, Matt, this COP meeting that's happening right now. So apparently the rich world has to pay for the poor world because of, among other things, the effects of climate change. But that would include developing nations like China. So how good's China going here, right? $100 billion is going to be set up from the UN. Yes, some to the Pacific Islands, some to this country in the middle bit of Africa. But the biggest developing country in the world is China, that is also simultaneously has a space station, that also simultaneously has hosted 2 Olympics so far in the first 22 years of this century, who, by the way, also are building the stuff that everyone wants around the world or has to have in terms of renewable energy. What do you think about, again, the leaders are staying away from COP because, oh, this is boring and just nuts and bolts stuff, but Clueless Chris Bowen's the one over there with the government credit card.
Well, Clueless Chris, Paul, has to come clean and tell us how much money from Australian taxpayers is going to go to China as part of this this apparent deal. And this deal that is being thrashed out right now, away from the prying eyes of democratic citizens, this deal just underlines how much of a scam this net zero emissions, this climate change agenda is. We are going to apparently pay countries like China to reduce our own emissions while they build coal-fired power stations, because that's exactly what is happening. This is a scam to help deindustrialise the West and concentrate industrial power and strength in other countries, dictatorships primarily, like China. Now, I suppose on the good news front here is we hear this every time. We hear that there's going to be some funds set up for developing countries at every one of these 26 conferences that has happened before COP27. It never really materialises because, for one reason, at the moment, where is Europe going to get this money to pay poor countries from? They're all going bankrupt. The UK nearly went bankrupt the other week. Germany the other day, the German energy minister the other day begged Algeria to supply it with cheaper gas. So this is where we're at. The energy crisis, where we're at in this story, is Europe is now asking Africa for aid. That's where we've got to from these crazy net zero emissions policies. And if we don't stop ourselves, we'll end up in the same European boat. And can I add, Paul, what do you think is going to happen after Tuesday or Wednesday our time, after the midterms? Do you think a Republican Congress is going to sign off on an appropriations bill to give money to China for climate change? These guys are kidding themselves.
Well, yeah, let alone in 2024 when it's going to be a Republican president who's going to undo a lot of the garbage that's been done under Biden, and then we're going to be there, holding our hands, wringing our own hands as we've ruined the joint in the fast run to 2030. Also, Pauline, you've noticed a story today, I think it was put out by Oxfam in particular, which has listed a lot of billionaires around the world who happen to have a very large, not just social conscience, but carbon footprint as well. Can we have a look here, right? Which is, unsurprisingly, Australia's own Mike Cannon-Brookes, after buying into AGL, he's got one hell of a footprint. Bill Gates has got it, Warren Buffett's got it, and Andrew Forrest does as well. What a surprise.
Oh, what a surprise. What a bunch of hypocrites they are. Don't do what I do, you do what I tell you to do. So therefore you destroy your way of life, your standard of living, but I'm going to live and I'm going to get on my plane when I want to travel, and I'm going to fly wherever I want to fly, and I'm going to have my mansions, my houses here and there, my cars and all the rest of it. But, you've got to pull your horns in and you've got to live in poverty. And that's what they're telling you. So if you're fools enough to listen to these people, and when Albanese says, oh, well, we'll get the energy cost down, if people cast their minds back 20, 30, 40 years ago, we didn't have energy problems or energy costs, all the rest of it. Our climate was fine. There was no problems. We had our hot days. We had our cold days. Why are you allowing them to actually dictate the terms so you rise in costs and energy costs where you can't run your household, you're struggling to pay the bills, we know it's going up another 56% next year, and you're sitting back and you're copying this? What a bunch of fools we are to allow us to be fed this garbage, and you keep going on about climate change. Climate change is natural, it's not. The whole thing is that we are being dictated by the United Nations to destroy our country, our sovereignty, and our being able to stand on our own 2 feet, and that's what's happening.